Afternoon, students. Now we are going to study the next Gandhian movement, that is non-cooperation movement. We've already discussed Champaran Satyagraha, Ahmedabad Mill Strike, Kheda Satyagraha, and then Rowlatt Satyagraha. Now we will be getting on with another movement, that is non-cooperation movement. So we've already discussed what had happened in Jallianwala Bagh. Now non-cooperation movement started in the 1920s, and the immediate cause for non-cooperation movement were Jallianwala Bagh wrong, because as we have studied, Jallianwala Bagh massacre happened and General Dyer was then just without any confrontation, without facing any punishment, was sent back to England. And another thing that happened by this time, World War has come to an end, and we have reorganization that is happening in Europe, and we find that Turkey, which was not even part of the World War, the Sultan of Turkey was treated very bad by the Allied powers. The British brutality had already shook the nation after the end of the World War. Also, the treatment that was given to Sultan of Turkey. Now, Sultan of Turkey was considered the Ottoman. Turks were considered as the religious head of the Muslim, because they were considered as protector of the Muslim all across the globe. There is this concept of Khalifa, that is going to be political leader actually, but over the period of time, with the coming up of all these political powers, Khalifa became a religious head of the Muslims. Now, with the breaking down of Turkey, it was decided that the Sultan of Turkey no more has any power, and thus this led to deep resentment among Indian Muslims, and also rise of a popular movement known as Khilafat movement. And we have all the earlier Muslim organizations, that is Devmat Ulema, Darul Uloom, and other such Muslim groups also, and also Muslim intelligentsia had started talking about creating a movement in which Indian Muslims are going to pressurize the Britishers to put back the Sultan of Turkey, or Ottoman Turk, as the religious leader of the Muslims. Now, after unsuccessful attempt of Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhi went into a sabbatical and spent his time in developing the idea of non-violence amongst the people. He was in Sabarmati Ashram trying to devise the plan of non-violence and how Satyagraha has to be incorporated within the system of Indian society. He then went into the social constructive work that he had already always talked about, and also he started talking about the three causes that Gandhi were the crux of Gandhi's ideology. That was first was Hindu-Muslim unity. He talked extensively about Hindu-Muslim unity. He talked about how, for the betterment of the country, it is very important to have this Hindu-Muslim unity. The second was fight against untouchability. This is the time when he is also he had used this word Harijan for untouchables, and he considered untouchability as unethical. And the last is social status of women in the country. He has realized that the condition of women is extremely bad in the country, and if the country has to progress, the women has to progress with the country. One thing that you have to understand, Gandhi was a devout Hindu. He always believed in the idea. However, he did not believe in the narrow concept of it. He considered that as a true Hindu, it is the duty of every individual to sanitize practices which are not considered to be good or considered to be evil, and yet you can be part of this of the religion, because ultimately it's your religion. You have to change. You have to remove anything that is not justified. So thus, though he was a devout Hindu, he tried to remove certain key concepts from the ideology of the religion. In 1920, Indian National Congress under Gandhi then, and the Khilafat movement that had already started picking up pace, launched a non-cooperation and non-violent movement. They decided that it's going to be non-violent and non-cooperation. Now, we have studied under non-cooperation movement. It is a very systematic removal from everyday participation with the government. So you are not doing anything. You are just telling the government, rule on yourself, we are not going to help you. So this is how it happened. What were the demands of non-cooperation? Correct the Punjab wrong. That is General Dyer has to be punished. Actions of Khilafat movement, what Khilafat movement is demanding, that should be done, and Swaraj. Gandhi even gave the slogan that if we follow this non-cooperation movement properly, then we are going to have Swaraj in a year. Again, the definition of Swaraj is something that Gandhi has never defined. So he said Swaraj in a year, but what is the level, what is Swaraj actually is not something that has been uh, called out by Gandhi. Now he decided, he asked the people to boycott government affiliated schools and colleges, law, courts, gave up on titles, foreign clothes, and everything that was considered, that showed the ideas of the British government. So in any way, if you're cooperating with the government, just remove those cooperation. How are you cooperating with the British government? By taking up those titles. How are you cooperating with the British government? By going to the law of courts, or by being a practicing lawyer in the court. So just give up your practices, don't go to the court, give up on foreign clothes, don't go to schools and colleges that are government affiliated, rather parallelly create institutions and schools which are run by the nationalists. So this led to setting up of a lot of national schools and colleges. There was a massive spontaneous support to this movement from various sections of the society, particularly peasants, students, and workers. Again, students. I underline students because this is something that all of you have to understand, that none of the movement of independence would not have been successful had the students not participated. Back then also the parents were scared about their studies and everything, yet students became the fundamental base of starting off any movement. And also the success of the movement depended largely on students, because they were able to mobilize people into the deepest corner of the subcontinent. Since Gandhi was part of it, so we find that the subaltern section also, peasants and workers and people in the remotest area, also became part and participant of this movement. People were asked to practice hand spinning and produce khadi. So people, so you are not just you. If you're boycotting foreign cloth, how do you ensure that people don't have anything less in number? You start hand spinning your clothes, started wearing khadi, and to give up untouchability, because you have to have a united front in front of the opposing government, and thus untouchability is one of the key that divides the society. So untouchability has to be given up, and to maintain Hindu-Muslim unity, because this is also a movement where they're talking about the religious sentiments of the Muslim community, thus is asking for Hindu-Muslim unity. Further, he also asked the Congress to now spread to the countryside. Provincial Congress committees were now to be organized on linguistic basis. And since language is one of the barriers, so all these, if you are opening up a Congress committee in the remotest area of Orissa, it's not necessary that if you have agenda in Hindi, they're going to understand that. So provincial Congress committees also were then delivering lectures in the basic language of the region, and thus we find that this gave rise to local leaders also becoming part of the Congress committee. The Congress organization was to reach down to the village level, and its membership fee was reduced to 4 annas. So it was considered that so that every nook and corner of the subcontinent could be part of the Congress organization at provincial level, at district level, at Mofussil level, at presidency level. This could only be done if the membership fee has been reduced, because earlier it was only an urban party, so on middle class and upper class, elite class could only join. They were able to afford the membership fees. Now it was reduced so that even peasant leaders or a tribal leader could also be part of the Congress. The first mass movement assumed during 1920 to 22 show unprecedented portions. Lakhs of students left their schools and colleges. Hundreds of lawyers gave up their practice. So you see, this created a wave reaction, and we find students leaving their schools and colleges, lawyers giving up their practices, courts being shut. Majority of voters refused to participate in election in the to the legislature. They said that they're not going to participate, and if they are not going to vote, there is no government at all. The boycott of foreign clothes became a mass movement with thousands of bonfires of foreign clothes lighting the Indian sky. So it was not just boycotting them, they started burning it also. So the idea of Swadeshi was then again reiterated by Gandhi. Picketing of shops selling foreign clothes and of liquor was also very successful. So Gandhi did not restrict himself on only on foreign clothes. Alcohol as an evil of the society was also considered to be removed, and thus he motivated this idea was to motivate women also to be part and parts of the movement, because women were the one who were highly affected by alcoholism, and thus even women became part of this movement by picketing liquor shops. In many regions, the factory workers and peasants were at the forefront, and in various areas, you would find that rather than having an urban elite, it was workers and peasants who were then motivating the entire movement. So for the first time, we find a movement which was actually mass movement. Usually it would be the Swadeshi movement that we have in Bengal, restricted only in Bengal, was an urban elite Calcutta oriented Bhadralok movement where only people of upper caste were the leaders, though it was something that everybody, all Bengalis were part of it, but it was led by only upper class men. This time we find that most of the movement had a very subaltern leadership, and also women participation grew up in this movement. In one of Congress procession of 3,000 peasants, the police opened fire on unarmed people. So what had happened in one of the Congress procession in one of a small town, there were 3,000 of peasants, and police opened fire on those people. Now, this created a chain reaction, since peasants are somebody whose idea of revolt and idea of mobilization and idea of retaliation is something very different. You could curb the urban class from retaliation. You cannot curb the peasants from retaliation. So what had happened is that in retaliation, the angry crowd burned the police station, causing death of 22 policemen at Chauri Chaura in UP. So it was just a reaction to something that you have done to us. This is how in countryside usually people do that. If you stole my cow, I'm going to steal your cow as well, and it's okay. So when police had open fire on the peasants, they decided they're going to do the same thing. So they did not have arms, so they set the police station on fire. And while doing that also, they thought that they're doing this for the movement. They did not do it just out of anger. They thought that this is the part of the movement, and by just putting the place on fire. And one thing that you have to understand, that those 22 policemen, half of them were from the same village. They put up the entire police station on fire by crying out Gandhi Baba ki jai, because they thought that this is their way of giving it is a way of giving a sacrifice to the deity that you usually do. This is how subaltern work. This is something that Gandhi always tried to disassociate from, but this is how subaltern work. Gandhi, despite a stiff opposition from many of his colleagues, withdrew the movement after this Chauri Chaura incident. Gandhi felt that people were not yet trained in the spirit of non-violence, and then he was, after withdrawal also, he was then put behind the bars. So this led to the entire movement, when it was at its peak, suddenly curbed down by Gandhi because of one incident. Now, though it was not a success again, but it created first the mass base of the movement. Further, there were a lot of things that had an impact of this movement on the future of India's independence movement. Now, first and foremost, the biggest impact of non-cooperation movement was it brought millions of peasants and urban poor within the sphere of nationalism. Their ideas of nationalism also started gaining a space. When they attacked Chauri Chaura, they did not, again, repeatedly, they did not do it out of just because they were angry with those police men. They were angry with They wanted to be a part and parcel of the nationalist movement, and this was their way of being part of it. The people of India were imbued with the idea of fearlessness. So now, for the first time, it was seen that Indians were not scared. They were not scared to retaliate. They were not scared to resist. And they were no longer afraid of British imperialism. Earlier, we would find they were afraid of British power. They were afraid of the violence, counter violence that they're going to do to them. Now they're not. Now they have just left those ideas somewhere. The most important consequence of non-cooperation movement was build-up of self-confidence, self-esteem, which Indian people gained. Now they gained that they can also ensure that they put this mighty British Raj on their heels if all of them decide to strike at one point. After the withdrawal of non-cooperation movement, there were leaders like C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru who formed the Swarajist Party. Now, this Swarajist Party believed that they're going to fight the British in the legislature. So, within their government, they're going to fight them. Then Swarajist as a party, Indian National Congress did not participate in the active politics of the regional provincial level. Swarajist decided that they're going to fight for election. They gained considerable victories and successfully obstructed work in many provincial legislatures. In many provincial legislatures, they were in majority, and they did not let any laws be passed because they were in majority and they were talking in, they wanted the involvement of the Indians to be more. So now we find that post non-cooperation movement, the idea of the Swarajist parties get inside the system and strike it from there. If you want any change, strike it from the system. Make sure that their working within the legislature is disturbed. In November 1927, because of the disruption created by the Swarajis, it was decided that there will be certain constitutional changes that has to be incorporated, and thus a commission was to be created, which is going to talk about constitutional changes that are required in the working of British government in India. This commission was created to look to decide on the future of the country and yet of the subcontinent, yet none of the Indians were part of it. Only Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was English educated again, Cambridge. He was educated from US and then he came down to London. He was also in a temple and then he was part of London School of Economics and Political Science. He was though a member of it. Congress boycotted the commission outrightly, not just Congress, Swarajist Party also boycotted the entire commission. And when Simon Commission reached India, there were massive demonstration all over the country with the black flags up saying Simon go back. Demonstrators were dealt with bullets and batons by the government, and we find that again the government, not knowing how to react to the sudden upsurge in demonstration, they started using violence. During this, Lala Lajpat Rai succumbed to injuries which he received in police lathi charge and Lahore, and he died. And with this, we find that another phase of nationalism is going to come, where it was decided that cooperation with the British government is something that is not going to happen, and we will soon have people like Bhagat Singh, the rise of socialism in India, which is talking about that this government is not the government that we would want. It is a very elitist government. It's not talking about, there has to be a revolution within the country to remove this, and socialism as an ultimate goal has to be reached. With this, we come down to the end of non-cooperation movement, and tomorrow we are going to discuss civil disobedience movement and Quit India movement. Thank you.